93 WIBC, Rob Kendall.
Brian Baker, we are the C team, not the A team or the B team, but the C team. And Rob Kendall, I understand that you have a surprise for me. And Rob, you know, I love surprises. Should I close my eyes?
No, it's fine. You don't have to. It's just kind of a special day for me.
Oh.
Today would have been, Brian,
Yes.
Andy Kaufman's 70th birthday.
Really? Oh, God bless him. Well, he's supposed to reappear at any time.
Well,
now.
that was a couple years ago he was supposed to reappear, and that didn't happen.
Nah, doggone it. You know. But let me ask this: how's his buddy Tony Clifton doing? Is he still healthy?
Tony still pops up sometimes.
Yeah?
You know.
Who'd have thought that guy would live to be 70, you know? Because the fella, you know, he eats steaks and he smokes and he drinks and, well, you know, God bless him. Listen, I've lived a healthy lifestyle and look at how I'm falling apart.
It's kind of weird. I was looking through some stuff today and it dawned on me, he has now been dead as long as he's been alive. 35 years. He died at 35. Like, we don't even realize that.
Yeah.
Like, he was 35. He's the same age I am now when he died. It's pretty incredible.
He's one of my favorites, man. And just so incredibly original. I just, you know, he inspired a lot of what I did in radio because I like the idea of a guy whose entire act is just about screwing with the audience and pissing people off. It's just satisfying in some way, you know? He was a performance artist, really.
You know, he was so far ahead of his time and still is today. When I was growing up, man, and I'm talking from like maybe 12 or 13 years old on, I wanted to be Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved the idea, and that's so much of what politics is, right?
Right.
Of being able to pull the string on people at all times. And he was always orchestrating something, and he orchestrated to the point where you never knew what was real and what wasn't. I mean, I love, and that's why I'm so glad they did that Man in the Moon movie.
Yes, although why in the hell did they have to have Jim Carrey star in that thing, man? Because Jim Carrey...
Well, I know you hate Carrey.
Well, I hate Carrey, and Jim Carrey doesn't look like Andy Kaufman, and you know, there was just something, it was almost like Jim Carrey had some kind of a fetish with playing the role of Andy Kaufman. Now, I understand a lot of comedians were inspired by Andy Kaufman, but he didn't look like Andy Kaufman. He did his little impression, and have you seen the documentary now that they finally released of Jim and Andy that's on Netflix?
No.
You got to watch this thing.
Oh, yes.
Because what Carrey did when they were making that film was he decided that he was going full-on method and would play that he was either Andy Kaufman or he was Tony Clifton.
Right.
And so he would never break character to the point where on set the director had to address him as Andy. He would, when he was doing the Tony Clifton thing, he would get drunk and pass out. He was doing all kinds of things in order to get in character. And it was that crap where, I forget who the actor was that told Dustin Hoffman one time when he had stayed up for 3 days in order to do this role where he was basically sleep deprived and told him, you know, Dustin, that's why they call it acting. It was so ridiculous. And as you watch this documentary, because they released all this footage finally that Jim Carrey had in his archives.
Oh, okay.
The studio didn't want to release it because basically they didn't want people to think that Jim Carrey is an a-hole. But now that that cat's out of the bag, I guess they're okay with it. And so Carrey kind of walks through the entire experience, and you see how truly disturbed and screwed up this man is. It's bizarre and frightening and such self-indulgent crap.
You know, you spent so much time around these sort of people. Now, did you ever work with Carrey in Hollywood?
I never had to work with him, thank God. No, he had pretty much kind of gone away by the time I got out there.
But you spent so much time around these people who are, and there's many, many people like this, immensely talented human beings, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think anybody would dispute it that Jim Carrey, or was, you know, he's crazy now, but is an immensely talented guy. Will Ferrell, immensely talented guy.
Oh, sure, you can be talented and an a-hole.
But I don't understand why so many of these guys, and I'm not lumping Will Ferrell into this, but so many of these people who know what it's like to come from nothing. They know what it's like to come up through the ranks. They do achieve success that people dream about, and yet they then choose to use that fame, not for good, but just to be terrible to people. Why is that?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that happen. Number one, as you're coming up through the ranks, you have been told over and over again, you're never going to make it. You should get out of the business. So when you finally do reach that level of success, there's a certain element of aha and screw you and sort of a passive-aggressive type attitude that you take into it. The other theory that I have, and I think it's absolutely true, is after about 5 years in that environment of being in a a world where you are highly successful, you can buy anything you want, and people are kissing your butt, and it is amazing the amount of butt kissing that goes on. When I would go on set just to do stunts, and I'm nobody, the amount of butt kissing that goes on is insane.
People were kissing your butt?
Yes.
What?
Yes, because everybody's hungry to get to that next level, right? Everybody's what they call, a star effer.
Yeah.
And so what I believe happens is that after a period of about 5 years, I think that there are changes in your brain that take place. I think there are chemical changes. I think things get rewired, and you are so used to living in this false reality that you lose all touch with reality. All touch with reality. The only people that seem to stay grounded are the folks who they have friends and they have family that don't have any level of feeling impressed with where they are in life. But I will also say this. Entertainment attracts a lot of people with a lot of emotional and psychological issues.
Take you and I, for example.
Yes. Listen, they tell you there are two ways to guarantee a divorce in life if you're a guy. Marry your high school sweetheart or marry an actress because they're all nuts. And I'm here to tell you, I dated a girl who was an actress who was nuts.
Well, and let's not even get into who you married. I mean, not your current wife.
No, my current wife is great. I don't know how that happened, man. Third time's the charm. A blind squirrel finds a nut.
When you look at Hollywood, because we branched off topic here talking about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman and what a jerk he is. I know, because obviously you and I are on at 9:06 each night for 9.5 minutes. So you and I will never achieve that.
I don't feel like we're going to lose touch with the reality, Rob.
Our ship may have sailed as you are past 40 and I'm now in my mid-30s. But I just always think if I were fortunate enough to achieve that, how much good I could do for the world. And do you think that these people get into it thinking that and they change? Or do they just... Are they always like, I'm going to get even with people?
I think so much of it has to do with how you are raised. And keep in mind that when I was in California, I made a lot of money for a period in California, but I did not make the kind of money that like Jim Carrey made.
What do they pay you to jump off a building? Because this is something you negotiate, or they tell you what they're going to pay you, or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have like your basic rate, your standard rate, which at the time was like $900, but then they have like you get add-ons based on the complexity of the stunt and the danger. So
okay.
But
the formula.
So some of the most dangerous stunts you'd only get like $10,000, right? Well, when I was doing work with the financial world, I was getting $20,000 a month, right? Plus, we were doing media buys. That's good money, man. But here's what I figured out. There's this initial rush where you go, oh my gosh, I can buy everything that I've ever wanted to buy. So you do that, right? Then there's this total emptiness because there's nothing to chase or achieve anymore, which I think is what happens to most actors. I think that they go to a point where it's like, is this all there is? And that's why so many of them are depressed and they get into drugs and all this other crap, because it's like you think it's going to be great and it ain't really all that different. Whatever problems you had before, you still have, right? Then I figured something out, which is, I mean, I already kind of knew this, but like when you use whatever resources you have to pour into other people's lives, to help people when they're down, or to just, randomly, like we used to like to go to restaurants and my wife and I, we would look around for whoever looked like they were having a bad day, and then we'd secretly buy their dinner and get out of there, right? So, like, you do things like that.
You used to buy dinners?
Yeah.
You've never even bought me a donut.
Well, I had more money back then. I don't have any money now. But those are the things that I think ultimately give life meaning and purpose, is if you're able to pour into other people. And if you're not doing that and your entire life is about narcissism and building yourself up, well, that's a pretty empty life.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. Oh, speaking
Look
of
in the mirror, Rob.
Yeah. No, speaking of empty lives, by the way, I may be committing suicide due to my health problems. I just wanted to throw that out there, Rob, because I'm going deaf again. I'm on the prednisone again. Life sucks.
As they used to do in the weekly television series, we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for next time.
Hey, let's take a poll. Should Brian blow his head off?
It's time for the mashup.
Naptown Brian, Rob M. Kendall. Should Brian commit suicide? Oh, and now enjoy the mashup.
93.
WIPC.
Whoopity-doo-dah.